Info Mualaf. Convert to Islam.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
And that's also a reason why I came to Indonesia and why I moved here, was because I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom to wear jilbabs. I wanted freedom to wear abayas. I wanted freedom to put on the hijab. I wanted freedom to be a Muslim.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo sobatku semua, apa kabar? Ketemu lagi dengan channel Info Mualaf. Kali ini kami akan menyajikan sebuah video story perjalanan seorang gadis cantik kelahiran Amerika Serikat yang bernama Deanna yang telah menjadi mualaf. Seperti kebanyakan para mualaf di Amerika dan Eropa, Deanna pernah berada pada titik berpikir yang sangat kritis yang sangat berdampak pada gaya hidup dan aktivitasnya. Pikirannya selalu bertanya-tanya, untuk apa hidup ini? Apakah semua kehidupan ini hanyalah kebetulan? Dan apakah kita terlahir untuk mencapai tujuan tertentu? Untuk lebih detailnya mari kita ikuti video berikut.
Assalamualaikum teman-teman. So today we're going to be talking about why I converted to Islam, what brought me closer to Islam, and what I think about Islam. Hopefully this will maybe even open up someone's heart, or maybe someone who's debating on whether they should convert to Islam. I really hope that this might kind of open up their heart more and maybe pull them into Islam. But again, it's everyone's decision. I was just like a normal American teenager, nothing too special, nothing too crazy. And, obviously we all search for the way of life. We're all wondering, what is the purpose of life? We all wonder, is it a coincidence? Or were we put onto this earth for a reason?
Bagi manusia yang berpikir, tentunya pertanyaan-pertanyaan seperti ini akan dirasakan dalam kehidupannya. 1. Dari mana manusia berasal? 2. Untuk apa manusia diciptakan? Dan 3. Kemana manusia setelah kematiannya kelak? Tentunya semua pertanyaan di atas sudah ada jawabannya dalam Al-Quran.
And let's start off with how I used to live back then. I'm not going to say I was the greatest person. I'm not going to say that I was the greatest. I did few mistakes, not few. We've all done mistakes. Not everyone's perfect. Back then, I would wear shorts, tank tops, not fully, I was not covered at all. I grew up in a Christian household. We would sometimes go to church, not regularly, but sometimes we would go to church together on Sundays, and I wasn't close to religion. I honestly hated God, and I became an atheist. I stopped believing in God because I was this world is so corrupt, this world is so garbage, why would God even exist? Why is this world so trash? If God was real, wouldn't he fix things? Wouldn't he make us happier? And yeah, why is everyone getting murdered, killed? I thought that why is this happening? If God's real, then why doesn't he fix that? But again, that's kind of what pushed me away from religion. And I would also fight with people online. I would be fighting with them that God isn't real. Why would you believe some man in the sky? Blah blah blah. I didn't know much about Islam. So I've had a pretty bad past, and something happened to where I had to decide whether I want to be a good person or a bad person. And at that moment I was really heartbroken. I was really hurt. Basically I was in a deep hole that I couldn't come out of. It was really hard because I hurt a lot of people, and at that day I decided, why not become religious? I started learning about other religions. It's weird because I never would see myself like this. But I was just so hurt and like so like down. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna learn about religions. And so I learned about religions. I even read the Bible, but the one that stood out to me the most was Islam. Islam, when I read the Quran, when I learned about Islam, and I would mostly watch like YouTube videos about like stories about Islam or like facts about, like off YouTube. And it started to kind of like pull me into it because it was so interesting. The way it explained things, it's like as if not a human wrote it, but it's like God himself wrote, like, I don't know how to explain it, like God himself, like he's the one who did it, like it's not, the way the Quran is written is not like human. And that's kind of what like kind of pulled me into it, because I was like, wow, like this is so cool. And there's a lot of like scientific facts that are real to now. There's this one part of the page of the Quran where it talks about how basically talking about the womb, the baby in the womb. And back then they never had that like scan thingy to scan the baby, or like the thing that goes inside her to see what the baby looks like, the fetus. But in the book it already talked about all the stages of a baby growing up in the womb. And I was like, whoa, like how did it know that? There was no like technology back then, there was nothing back then, but how did they know that?
Embriologi atau ilmu embrio merupakan bidang ilmu yang mempelajari bagaimana sel tunggal membelah dan berubah selama perkembangan untuk membentuk organisme multiseluler. Proses ini dinamakan embriogenesis. Al-Quranul Karim banyak sekali menyinggung masalah embriologi. Pembentukan janin dari awal hingga akhir dijelaskan secara singkat namun padat oleh Al-Quran. Seperti yang tersurat dalam Al-Quran surat Al-Mu'minun ayat 12-14. Dan sesungguhnya kami telah menciptakan manusia dari suatu saripati berasal dari tanah. Kemudian kami jadikan saripati itu air mani yang disimpan dalam tempat yang kokoh, rahim. Kemudian air mani itu kami jadikan segumpal darah, lalu segumpal darah itu kami jadikan segumpal daging, dan segumpal daging itu kami jadikan tulang belulang, lalu tulang belulang itu kami bungkus dengan daging. Kemudian kami jadikan dia makhluk yang berbentuk lain. Maka Maha Sucilah Allah, Pencipta yang paling baik.
Anyway, there's a lot of other things too that kind of like shocked me about like facts in the Quran. How it all started is, I started to realize that I needed to change who I was. I needed to change my character. I needed to change myself because I was not a good person. I wanted to be better. I wanted to be nicer. I wanted to be someone new. I hated my old self. I hated the way I lived. You didn't have deen. People liked to do haram with you, but in my heart, I didn't feel like fulfilled. And then when I came to Islam, I lost a lot of friends. People treated me differently. When I started wearing the hijab as well, people treated me differently. But anyway, let's start off how I became a Muslim. So it's actually a funny story. How I took my shahada was over Discord. I was sitting on my bed and I was on a call and I did the shahada in my pajamas. They told me to cover my body, and I was like, sure, like okay. And so I covered my body and I'm just sitting there, and then they're like, repeat after me, ashhadu. And so yeah, and then I repeated, said my shahada, and then they're like, oh, you're Muslim now, yay! And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so now after that I started learning more about Islam, watched YouTube videos about it, and the stories of like prophets, the stories about, Islam in general. I would sometimes read the Quran, but I was mostly into like videos. The story of Isa, it's very interesting. How it talked about how Jesus wasn't actually crucified, and that's what pulled me into Islam, the fact that Jesus was a prophet and not a god, because to me it never really made sense why a man could be a god.
Salah satu kisah yang disebut di dalam Al-Quran adalah kisah Nabi Isa, alaihi salam. Dalam Al-Quran, Allah Azza wa Jalla mengingkari keyakinan satu kaum bahwa Nabi Isa dibunuh dan disalib. Allah mengabarkan bahwa sesungguhnya ia tidak dibunuh dan tidak pula disalib, melainkan diangkat ke atas langit dalam keadaan hidup. Seperti yang tersurat dalam surat An-Nisa ayat 157-158. Dan karena perkataan-perkataan mereka, sesungguhnya kami telah membunuh Al-Masih, Isa putra Maryam, Rasul Allah, padahal mereka tidak membunuhnya dan tidak pula menyalibnya. Surat An-Nisa ayat 171. Wahai ahli kitab, janganlah kamu melampaui batas dalam agamamu, dan janganlah kamu mengatakan terhadap Allah kecuali yang benar. Sesungguhnya Al-Masih, Isa putra Maryam itu adalah utusan Allah dan yang diciptakan dengan kalimatnya yang disampaikannya kepada Maryam, dan dengan tiupan roh darinya. Maka berimanlah kamu kepada Allah dan Rasul-Rasulnya, dan janganlah kamu mengatakan, Tuhan itu tiga. Berhentilah dari ucapan itu lebih baik bagimu. Sesungguhnya Allah Tuhan yang Maha Esa, Maha Suci Allah dari mempunyai anak. Segala yang di langit dan di bumi adalah kepunyaannya. Cukuplah Allah sebagai pemelihara.
Then I started learning more about like prophet stories, and it was so interesting, especially Prophet Muhammad's story. I was like, wow, this is so sad, but it's actually so relatable sometimes. When you're sad and you read his story, it kind of like gives you hope that, you know, God's always there with you. God's always listening to you. He's always gonna help you. You're never alone. And yeah, it kind of like opened up something in me that finally I have someone who I could talk to when no one's there. Finally I have someone that cares about me when no one else cares. Finally I have someone that I could, you know, go run to when I'm sad, when I'm depressed. Finally I have someone that can protect me from like harm, from evil and all that. And it's just that feeling in you that you finally have something there that you could hold onto is what really like made me love about Islam. Some of the 3 biggest challenges I faced was the hijab. The hijab was so hard for me because I was living in a Christian household, and my whole life I showed my hair, and then all of a sudden like I'm covering it. But it was really hard to cover my hair without like being sus, or like without them thinking that it's weird, like why are you always covering your hair. I would wear like my hood up, I would wear a beanie, and it was strange, like why are you doing that basically. But somehow I pulled it off. The first time when I put on the hijab was at school. I thought it was pretty. I actually really liked it, and after that I really wanted to wear it, so I started wearing it throughout high school. But then after high school I had to take it off because I didn't have the freedom to just wear it all the time. I was scared that people were gonna find out. I was scared, you know, I didn't have the freedom. When I pray, I have to hide, you know, I couldn't just pray like that. And that's also a reason why I came to Indonesia and why I moved here, was because I wanted freedom. I wanted freedom to wear jilbabs. I wanted freedom to wear abayas. I wanted freedom to put on the hijab. You know, I wanted freedom to be a Muslim. And I couldn't do that when I was in America. If you were to ask me if I regret converting, hell no. I am happy, I am blessed, I am so happy that I came to Islam. Islam really opens up your heart to be a good person. It teaches you hygiene. We literally wash ourselves 5 times a day. We pray 5 times a day. That also really intrigued me. People are so kind. Like, one thing I noticed in America, they're like, Muslims terrorists, Muslims killers. But when I came to Indonesia, everyone's just like normal people. You know, if you're going through tough times, Islam really also helps you, especially Allah. He helps you a lot. You make dua, you can recite things, and it really like softens your heart. It eases your pain. And when you pray, you have this like really good connection with Allah. And when you make dua especially, you have like this connection. It's like you're so close to Him and He understands you, He listens to you. Overall, I love being a Muslim. And if someone's out there wondering if they should do it. Become one. It's awesome. You learn about discipline, you learn about hygiene, you become a better person. Your soul, it's just so, like, everything's so much better with Islam. I hope you guys like my video and like and subscribe. Thank you guys for all the support. Really appreciate everything. I appreciate how nice you guys are in the comments. Thank you guys for watching me, and I appreciate all the love. I hope that this will open up someone's heart to Islam and maybe even pull them into it. But anyway, bye guys.
Sobat, terima kasih sudah mengikuti video ini sampai akhir. Sampai ketemu lagi di video berikutnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.